Here are some tips to remember what the other person is saying in a conversation, especially during those types of conversation where there's so much things the other person is sharing and it's almost kind of difficult to keep up because there's so much to digest and there might have been some information that you wanted to respond to, but then they're already at the next point. So here are some tips regarding how do you make sure that you remember those. Number one is first set your intention. Set your intention on what do you want the other person to feel at the end of the conversation, right? So this means set the intention of having priorities in conversations, regardless what type of conversation you're in. Remember that in every conversation you're going into, what your focus is on, what your priority is in, will transfer to the other person. So, for example, if the priority is to understand how they're currently feeling, this may be because, they had a particularly bad day or a very great day and you just want to understand their emotions and where they're at, then focus on understanding their emotions, ask follow-up questions on those specifically. And the other kind of details, it's not really important or relevant at the moment to understand. And number two is if this is like a virtual meeting, this makes it a lot easier because you can actually take notes. And I do very much suggest taking notes so that you can remember what they're currently saying, but as well as in the future you can reference things that you wrote down and say, hey, do you remember when we last talked about this? And this really makes the other person feel like you were listening and that you are hearing them because you're able to remember once again something that was relevant to how you want to show up and relevant then to how the other person was feeling, and this would make people feel like, oh, you do care about them.